Hey everybody, it is time to play some more Metroid. We've got a lot of stuff to do today. Mainly in Brinstar, because we gotta clear that place out of items and pick up our last suit upgrade. But first, before we can do any of that, we've got to get out of here. Now, when we first came to Ridley's Lair, we had a choice. We could go left, or we could go right. Going left turned out to be the more interesting and profitable choice. It led us to all of the items in the entire area, and to Ridley. Going right would have led us to Ridley. And that's it. Which sucks. But, for completeness sake, and also because we can't go back up the way we came, that's the way we are going to get out of here. Now, I haven't got time for these multi-violas today, so it's missiles and screw attack all the way for them. And also, there's something I did neglect to mention about the screw attack that's pretty cool, and we're going to see that in a moment. There it is. So, normally when you think of the screw attack, you associate it with somersaulting into things and blowing them up. But, you actually don't have to make it to the point where you're somersaulting in order for the screw attack to take effect. In a confined space like that hallway, as long as you're moving forward and jumping, you'll get a couple frames worth of screw attack as you reach the height of your jump. And that is just enough to kill things off. Now, to get back to Norfair, we go to the top of this shaft. This is not the top of this shaft. That's actually on the same level as the second missile upgrade we found last time. That would be the one that we had to do the bomb jump and jump boots to get to. Now, if we went further left on that dead end, we'd find a dead end, and on the other end of it, we would see that missile pack taunting us. Fortunately, we picked it up, and so we're not going to be subjected to such foolishness. Now, if we went right from the fork at the start of the lair, this is the corridor that we would end up in. It is a pain in the ass, and it's better that we didn't go that way. And voila, back at the start. Now, unfortunately, this means that we're going to have to backtrack all the way out of Norfair, but fuck that. Let's just go straight back up to Brinstar. Now, our first order of business here in Brinstar is going to be replacing the wave beam with the ice beam. And while I love the wave beam to death, it's a necessary thing if we want to fight Kraid effectively, and minimize our time for the game, and minimize the amount of backtracking, and set ourselves up for some sweet bomb jumping action later. So, our target is that blue corridor with all the waivers that we took on our way to get the bombs the first time around. That's just one level up from here. Oops. There we go. One thing that always irks me is when I actually miss a jump in one of these vertical corridors. It's one of those things that just makes you go, ugh. So, this is a horizontal corridor. So that means that once we go through here, this is a vertical corridor, which means that somewhere in here is a secret. However, the secret is that it's a pit that you don't want to fall into, and it takes forever to get out of, especially if you don't have the ice beam, like I don't. And basically you just never want to go in there, there's nothing there. What we actually want is in this, theoretically, virtually identical vertical hallway. Well, this room is completely identical to the one prior, but what's beneath it is not. In fact, what's down here is far better than the prize of pain and unpleasantness that was awaiting us in that other pit. It is an item room, and a bunch of obnoxious enemies. So let's give our wave beam one last throw by taking those guys out. But not that Geemer, because he's pretty cool. And here it is, the second ice beam in the game. Now, we could have gotten that on our way down the first time, but I like to save it for the trip back up to minimize the amount of backtracking. And right there you can see where the other pit goes to. Nothing special there other than enemies and breakable blocks. And we're gonna have more than our fill of breakable blocks once we get to Kraid's lair. So let's get out of here and head back up to by where we got the bombs. Now there is a piece of sand here that you can stand on. There it is. Or acid, solid acid, sand. It's kind of hard to tell what that's supposed to be. Much clearer in Zero Mission that it's acid and it hates you. Whoops. Not a whole lot to see. I kind of miss the irony of being able to take out waivers with the wave beam, but, you know, Ice Beam and Screw Attack will do. And I always do like to keep my missiles up. So, Ice Beam freezes things you can use on those platforms, but the tricky thing with that is that if you Screw Attack, you don't land on them, you just kill them anyways. Now, to get up to our next suit upgrade, and almost all of the rest of the items in Brinstar, we need to freeze these rippers and climb up to the next door. However, because this game is run by an angry random number god that hates me, there is an enemy missing here, and I'm gonna have to bomb jump up. Like so. But personally, I find that bomb jump a little bit easier than the one you have to do in Zero Mission, which you can see in the lower right-hand corner. It's not that infinite bomb jumping there is particularly difficult, it's navigating the two rippers that are placed just so that you have to adjust your height as you're jumping to avoid them. Our reward is an energy tank and the elimination of some backtracking, which I'm always a fan of. I'm also a fan of this entire floor in general. This is actually a very unique floor in the game. There's not much reused content here, and for me it's pretty memorable, especially the screen we'll get to a bit later on that has the 4 tubes in it. It was remade pretty faithfully in Zero Mission, and I like it a lot. Not as much as I like missiles. Man, do I sure love missiles. I could never play hard mode on Zero Mission or Metroid Fusion because I would not be able to resist firing off my missiles at everything, and I would run out, and that would be bad. I'd probably not get very far. Now, we just came out of a horizontal room, so that means that this one is vertical, and shooting upwards reveals that this is the case. So, to our left is some false blocks that'll knock us back down a bit. So we have to jump from there to get up here, and it's another item room that has the final suit upgrade in the game. And it is the Varia suit. The Varia suit in this game turns you pink instead of orange, and the crazy shoulder pads aren't there. But it's still extremely good, and halves the damage you take from everything. And that includes acid and lava, etc. It's an integral part of the Ridley wave beam strategy, so that you don't die horribly. So it's going to take a little while for us to get back down and get to our next destination, so please direct your attention to the lower right corner of the screen, where I will demonstrate picking up the Varia suit in Zero Mission. Well, definitely not how you're supposed to pick up the Varia suit in Zero Mission, but a totally valid and obviously creator-supported method of doing so. It involves, of course, a lot of bomb jumping. Just like in this game, you're not supposed to be able to get up there unless you have the high jump boots. But the high jump boots are a little, I wasn't exactly patient in that particular run of Zero Mission, so I didn't get them. In fact, I'm up here directly after picking up the bombs, which is why that's all I can use, and I can't grip onto walls or anything like that. That aside, having that window in the lower right-hand corner of the screen gives me an opportunity to talk about another interesting program-related thing. Now, as I fall down this vertical shaft and the next vertical shaft, you will notice, especially in the blue shaft, that I never actually go behind the picture-in-picture on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That's because of the way that the game tracks your movement and draws the upcoming areas. While the screen is scrolling, or capable of scrolling, it always tries to keep Samus at dead center of the screen, or rather, dead center of the screen in terms of whatever the scrolling type of the room is. So I'm in a vertically scrolling room, so it keeps me in the center of the screen vertically, but I can move left to right horizontally. And the same would be true vice versa, except when you get to the point where you can no longer draw. And now that that's over, let's pick up the last item in Brinstar, and it's one you'll probably remember from Super Metroid, but first I need to lure an enemy over here so I can get up to it. Or maybe I don't, because as soon as I did that, an enemy decided to spawn. I hate you, random number god. But it doesn't matter, because we just picked up our 6th energy tank. Now that's the last one that the screen is willing to display, but there is still one more left in the game. Or rather, 2 more left in the game, now that I think of it. Yes, there are 2 more left in the game, both in Kraid's lair, and they're unfortunately not going to increase our max energy, but I'm gonna go get them anyways. Now, in Super Metroid, this would be where you got the first missile. But in regular Metroid, it is the entrance to Kraid's lair. Kraid's lair has the best music in the game, and we're gonna take it on next time.